the lead up to the 2024 elections, Ghana stood at a defining crossroads, a nation abundant in promise, rich in potential, yet bowed beneath the weight of economic decline, rising poverty, and a deepening crisis of trust. From towns and cities, from fields and coastlines, the people raised their voices through the ballot. They did not whisper, they thundered. They demanded change, they called for a reset, and they entrusted John Dramani Mahama to lead that renewal. President John Mahama's return, not fueled by grand illusions of perfection, but by a solemn commitment to lead a reset agenda focused on rebuilding broken institutions, restoring integrity in leadership, and reconnecting governance to the people. Wednesday, May 7, 2025, marks exactly 4 months since President John Mahama stepped once more into the highest office, ushering in an unprecedented second term and a renewed promise to a nation at the edge of transformation. In August 2024, soon after unveiling the Resetting Ghana for Jobs, Accountability and Prosperity Manifesto, President John Mahama made a bold and uncommon move. He offered the nation a social contract, a sacred pledge between leader and the people.
In the first 120 days in office, we will hold a national economic dialogue to draw up a 4-year fiscal consolidation plan. We would rationalize taxes, abolishing, among others, the obnoxious e-levy, the COVID levy, and the 10% levy on bet winnings. We will review import duties and levies on vehicles and equipment meant for industrial and agricultural purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, we will rationalize port fees and charges and implement emergency measures to stabilize the city and the macroeconomic environment. We will use the price stabilization and recovery levy to cushion consumers of petroleum products. We will investigate the MPP's opaque gold for oil deal. We will review the gold purchase program of the Bank of Ghana and will restore the licenses of wrongfully collapsed banks and financial institutions. We will increase indigenous participation in the banking and financial sector, and we will free the statutory funds, the GET Fund, NHIL, Road Fund, to be able to achieve their mandated objectives, alleviating the current economic hardships. And one of our first programs is the no-fee stress policy. There are many students who are unable to take up their places in tertiary educational institutions because they cannot afford to pay the academic fees. And so we'll take that stress off them. And I assure the universities it will not affect their internal generated funds. We're going to give the money to the student's loan. The student loan will pay it to the universities as a grant.
President John Mahama's first 120 days social contract, that was its name.
Before an audience of African heads of state, foreign dignitaries and jubilant citizens, the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu administered the oath of allegiance to President John Dramani Mahama.
I,
John Dramani Mahama,
do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
do in the name of the Almighty God swear. So help me God.
In his inaugural speech, President Mahama outlined his vision for the nation, emphasizing unity, economic transformation, and resilience against global challenges. Citizens are hopeful that this administration will bring impactful solutions to the nation's most pressing challenges and a future shaped by progress, inclusivity, and renewed determination.
A commitment, a clear checklist of promises, outlining what the president vowed to deliver within his first 4 months in office. Some promises were to unfold within 90 days. Others, like seed sown, were meant to bloom in just 2 short weeks. As the 120-day mark arrives, GBC News takes stock, tracing the steps of President Mahama's return, the promises fulfilled, the efforts still unfolding, and the unexpected strides taken beyond the bounds of his original pledge. Cabinet nominations in 14 days delivered. Within just 2 weeks of being sworn in, President Mahama submitted a comprehensive list of 42 ministerial nominees, cabinet, non-cabinet, and regional. In less than a month, all were vetted and approved. It was swift, it was strategic, it was unprecedented. Lean government formation delivered. President Mahama pledged to form the leanest and most efficient government of the Fourth Republic. Within his first 30 days in office, 56 key appointments were made, 23 ministers, 16 regional ministers, 13 deputy ministers, and 4 ministers of state. The full configuration remains in progress, but lean it is. Purposeful it remains.
Our commitment to a lean government is not merely about reducing the number of ministerial appointees or reducing the numbers at the presidency. It is grounded in our firm belief that government must exercise fiscal discipline by ensuring that public resources are used efficiently and responsibly.
Code of Conduct for Political Appointees delivered. A robust code of conduct is now in force, raising the bar for ethical standards across all levels of government. National Economic Dialogue delivered. A 7-member planning committee chaired by Dr. Ishmael Yamson was established to spearhead a homegrown fiscal consolidation program anchored in discipline, strategy, and national ownership.
Your Excellency, this is definitely not the Ghana that our forefathers fought for, and definitely not the Ghana that succeeding generations have toiled and hoped for. Your Excellency, someone must reset the destiny of Ghana, and it can only be you. And the Lord has blessed you with the wisdom to take on that task. The task to liberate Ghana from economic mismanagement and corruption, to reset Ghana and put it on a path of sustainable and resilient growth, inclusive development and prosperity for all the citizens of the country. Ghanaians, Your Excellency, are tired of poverty and hardship. This bold vision to reset Ghana should rewrite the history of Ghana and Africa and give the future generations to come a lasting hope in our country, in our continent.
Tax reliefs delivered. The e-levy, the 10% bed tax, and the emissions levy each marked for cancellation within the first 90 days.
The repeal of the famous e-levy bill. So betting tax is gone. The emissions levy is gone. Promises delivered.
We can say that so far so good, because if you look at the hope that people had in him and the promises that were made, the fact that we were able to have a government functioning within such a short space of time, the fact that the number of ministers have been reduced, which will cut costs, the fact that women have had good representation in this government, the fact that a lot of hope is being restored, the fact that the depreciation of the cedi for now has stalled, those are great things that we need to recognize.
Tax reviews for industrial imports. The review of levies on vehicles and equipment used in agriculture and industry is now underway. 24-hour economy begins. Mr. Augustus Gusitano, appointed presidential advisor on the 24-hour economy and accelerated export development. Accelerated Export Development Committee. The Accelerated Export Development Committee has been launched as a cornerstone of Ghana's new export-led growth strategy under the direct chairmanship of the President, John Mahama. The institutional groundwork is already underway, quietly but deliberately setting the stage for transformation.
Our aim is to grow Ghana's non-traditional export earnings from $3.5 billion annually to at least $10 billion by 2030.
National Education Conference delivered. An 8-member committee established to convene the National Education Forum, tasked with a comprehensive review of Ghana's educational system and a vision for its renewal.
National Education Forum, the ways in which they consulted various stakeholders, I belong to PRINCOF, and the way PRINCOF was consulted, the way we were involved, the way we were allowed to make written input, that's very important. That's how you do policy. And I think that that's commendable. So I would say that the first 100 days were very impressive.
No academic fees for first-year tertiary students delivered. A nationwide rollout is now benefiting thousands of students across public universities, teacher training colleges, and nursing institutions. Ban on political appointees purchasing state assets enforced.
No political appointee under this administration is permitted to purchase state assets, whether land, vehicles, shares, or buildings, directly or indirectly. If you attempt to do so and you are found out, your appointment will be terminated. We are here to protect the national interest, not to help ourselves to the national purse.
The Mahama Cares Fund is now operational, providing critical financial support to individuals battling chronic illnesses and disabilities, bridging gaps left by the National Health Insurance Scheme, and advancing equitable healthcare access.
I'd like to encourage all corporate Ghana, that is private sector and state sector, to annually devote a portion of their community social responsibility to Ghana Medical Trust Fund. And so I've pledged half a year, 6 months of my salary to Mahama Cares.
Free sanitary pads distribution launched.
Today is a message to every girl in Ghana that you matter. I stand before you to officially launch the National Sanitary Pad Distribution Program, a promise we made and are proud to have fulfilled.
Seed funding for Women's Development Bank delivered. Priority job programs launched delivered. The Ejumera program, the National Apprenticeship program, and the 1 Million Coders initiative have taken flight. President John Dramani Mahama's 120-day social contract has met its mark, with key promises delivered and others well in motion.
From the very outset of my administration, I called for a national reset, a fundamental repositioning of our institutions to reflect the values of merit, transparency, and service. At the heart of this agenda is the need to renew trust in our institutions that manage our economy, beginning, of course, with our central bank. When we assumed office, the economy we inherited was deeply distressed. Investor confidence had hit rock bottom. Inflation was soaring, the cedi had sharply depreciated, and our debt situation was precarious. The domestic debt exchange program further strained the financial system, shaking the foundations of liquidity, confidence, and stability. We recognized that this was not a time for rhetoric. It was a time for serious, disciplined, and coordinated institutional action. I'm pleased to note that under the leadership of Governor Dr. Johnson, Pandit Esiama, and the bank's senior management, the recovery process has begun in earnest. Inflation, while still high, is moderating. The Ghana cedi has appreciated by 3.16% on the interbank market and by nearly 5% at the Forex Bureau market, a remarkable reversal of last year's volatility. These gains are not accidental. They are the results of careful monetary tightening, improved foreign exchange liquidity, and a better synchronization of fiscal and monetary policy frameworks. Furthermore, the staff-level agreement reached with the IMF during the fourth review of our extended credit facility program reflects growing international confidence in our reforms and in the credibility of our economic governance. Monetary policy alone cannot secure Ghana's economic recovery. It must be complemented by disciplined fiscal policy. And that is why we're restoring public financial management under the stewardship of Finance Minister Dr. Kaisel Atoforsen. We're improving domestic revenue mobilization. We're streamlining public expenditure and restoring fiscal prudence, not to tick boxes of the IMF, but because sustainable development depends on it. We're also deepening coordination between the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance. This improved synergy is reflected in our joint work on the forex auctions, reserve accumulation, and liquidity management. And the results are already evident for all to see, but we must stay the course.
To many Ghanaians, it reflects a leadership that listens, responds, and acts.
Since the government took over on 7 January 2025, it is important to note that some key interventions have been undertaken in the area of the economy. If you look at the budget that was read in March, you could see that the core focus of the government is to bring about macroeconomic stability. When investors want to invest in any markets, one, they are looking for macroeconomic stability. If somebody wants to invest dollars in the economy, at the end of the day, when you want to take back or recoup your investments, you are looking at the gains, the returns. And one of the key issues has to do with losses at the exchange. In a situation where the cedi depreciates, what that means is that even if you make profits, when you change into dollars, you make losses at the exchange. So with the macroeconomic stability, with that certainty, businesses are able to plan. Businesses are able to do the right investments without looking back, and that will help to enhance productivity. And so for the first time in the history of the Fourth Republic, we had a situation where the planned expenditure for 2025 is less than the planned expenditure of 2024 by 10 billion Ghana cedis. The planned expenditure for 2024 was 279 billion, and that of 2025, 269 billion. That hasn't happened in the Fourth Republic. That's about 10 billion. In 2022, inflation rate was at 54.1%. 2023 came to the 30s. In December 2024, inflation was 28.1%. Since this government took over, inflation has continuously declined. And in March 2025, inflation was 22.4%. The governor of the central bank, Dr. Esiama, has projected inflation to end at 12% by December 2025. And I think that is achievable if you look at the steps that we are taking in terms of fiscal responsibility measures, and also the Bank of Ghana taking a precautionary position when it comes to its monetary policies.
4 months in, the numbers speak for themselves.
Mama de na because 8 years no na ye de hwe se se de na difference bebre wom. Even though ya ton ade krampo no ya market you know market ejina one place. Though nyoma ne antoto so se ne first uto ne ne o kire bekwase atoso se se ne nkwa ne sa se e be ko bia no be ejina no e hwa ne ejina tibeti me ka se we ne e se 8 years de no
so for 120 days now oba abemu no eko yi ye hu se ya to petrol mu ana bebe petrol no jana e hwa ne ejina intama lorry fare no so no se ne jana e hwa ne ejina enko ne numie se ne tie no sa ne tie eye
so far so good John Mama wa ho wa ya de nipa ya de a wo saye won bo ne din so on say ne din e kire say ye hu amambo for good 8 years aye team for hardship aye team be John Mama ba no de anokware wa nyame nim ni 100 days ya say 150 days awanye yi utimu se bibia akofom kakra ama yankasa eye nipa nkasa no utimu se wankasa mu na nkasa no ubodi no echo se amambo no ekọ senate.
What's next? The work has just begun.